The EFX Sports Show is on your radio right now. Here's your authorities in sports nutrition, Dr. Jeff Golini and Brian Andrews.
Well, welcome to another episode of the EFX Sports Show on ESPN 910 Radio. My name is Dr. Jeff Golini, and I'm here with my co-host, Mr. Brian Andrews. Brian, it's a lovely day on ESPN 910.
Oh, it's always a lovely day on ESPN 910. Come on now.
I know.
And let me just say a big welcome to everyone in ESPN 910 land, right? This is the show of athletes, by athletes, and for athletes in every sport and walk of life. Here's what we have for you on today's stellar episode of the EFX Sports Show. Now, first off, in Dr. Jeff's tip of the week, he's going to be discussing what he believes is the good, the bad, and the ugly truth regarding probably the most used and popular stimulant in history, and I'd say, honestly, in the entire world. That just happens to be none other than good old caffeine. Now, I am personally an avid user of caffeine, so I'm quite curious to hear what he has to say about this one. And then, of course, questions. You, the listening audience, have them, and we, your esteemed show host, have answers. So please grab a pen and paper because you will want to take notes during today's Q&A segment. And we also received another question from across the pond from a listener in London, plus, of course, many, many more. And finally, we are going to be joined today in our Spotlight segment by Junior Michael Ray. Now, he is a lifetime all-around athlete who competes in wrestling, but also on the PRCA and PBR circuit as a rider. Now, if that's not enough, he's also an actor, director, writer, and Nashville recording artist. So please stay tuned, everyone. And if you are all ready, put your seatbelts on, and we're going to turn this puppy over to Dr. Jeff.
Well, let me get a little caffeine in here first. I kind of entitled this The Good and the Bad and the Ugly because there's so much hype information out there about caffeine. And I know so many people say, is it good? Is it bad? I saw this, I saw that. First of all, for every study that says it's no good, there's another study that says it's good. So I think the evidence is overwhelming that caffeine in moderation, is okay. Now you got to remember that caffeine is the most abundantly used legal drug. It is a drug and it is addictive. That's where the problems come, is people use more than what is safe. Medical professions, the Mayo Clinic, have agreed that 400 milligrams per day for healthy adults is a safe level. Now, that's like drinking 4 cups of coffee, 10 sodas or pops, depending on where you're from. Now, that could maybe only be 1 to 1.5 pre-workouts, because normally pre-workout powders contain a whole lot of caffeine, and sometimes you can get as much as 300 to 400 milligrams in one serving. So you got to be careful. But what was interesting is there's some new research that came out that actually says caffeine will make you gain weight. So I did a little bit of research and found out that this was done in Australia. That was done with mice. And it was actually the coffee that I believed was causing these mice to gain weight, not the caffeine itself, because the coffee contained polyphenols and something called CGA. And what happens is this and caffeine stimulates cortisol production, and cortisol is what facilitates that fight or flight system to keep our body safe by elevating blood pressure, metabolizing carbohydrates and fat, but it also promotes insulin increasing to basically simulate the glucose from all those carbohydrates. So, when your body's under stress, this is kind of what's going on, and caffeine stimulates that. Well, what happens when you get an excess amount of glucose in your system, you become hungry. You want to eat more. So my conclusion is people were gaining weight because they were eating more. It wasn't actually the caffeine. But most of the bad hype, I think, from caffeine, besides overdosing it and there's been deaths, is that normally caffeine is associated with coffee, and coffee is associated with unhealthy lifestyle. A lot of people who drink coffee also smoke, drink, they don't exercise, and those are the things that actually lead to most of the health problems that you hear. Now, I'm adamant that kids should not be drinking coffee or caffeine. shame on you for letting your kids drink coffee. They do not need a central nervous stimulant, and it only encourages them to other drugs because they're not using it for, I love the taste of coffee. They're using it to wake up, to get going, to be more mentally alert, and that only leads to more consumption. So anyhow, Brian, that's kind of the good, the bad, and the ugly. In moderation, there's nothing wrong with it if you're healthy, so you can continue to drink your coffee and use your pre-workouts. But if you've got some health issues, you have some stomach problems, you have trouble sleeping at night, you're irritable, muscle tremors, those are all signs of sensitivity to caffeine, so you might want to cut back or cut out.
Oh, sorry, I was going to give you a response there, but I was drinking my caffeine.
Yeah, I bet you were. You doing a little sipping, huh?
Oh, I got to be doing my sipping, man. I got to be fired up for ESPN 910.
That's right.
Well, that's the other thing about caffeine in general, and is that like most other drugs, whether it be an alcohol or whatever it is, you typically will build a tolerance to it,
Yep.
and at some point, you have to consume so much to even get the same effect. So it's best, if you can, to try to wean yourself back off. So you don't need to drink so daggone much to get the effect of it. And I know that will tire out your adrenal glands, and you get to a point where your receptors that actually where the caffeine is reacting to almost are like clogged in a way where you just
Right.
it just doesn't even work anymore. What a shame.
Moderation, man, is the key to most things in life, It's just
Yes,
that, as you know, when people abuse, we knew people that were taking caffeine suppositories, and now the guy's in a wheelchair. I mean, he can't even walk. So, I mean, again, there is a point where you can have a heart attack. You can die from abusing it, and, again, with a variety of other side effects. But, again, used in moderation. Don't get me wrong. I don't have a problem with, coffee or caffeine.
And like we said, other than the fact that it's so readily available, it's the most widely used stimulant in the whole world and has been for, honestly, thousands of years. So kind of hard to argue with that one.
Yeah, FDA was looking at actually banning and regulating caffeine a few years ago, but I think because it's so widely used, like in Coke and Pepsi, that they just couldn't go up against the big guys because there's more caffeine that's used in the food industry than in, like, the supplement industry.
Well, and there's a lot worse, bigger fish to fry, as
exactly.
like to say, when it comes to that, they're worried about the caffeine in general.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Anyway, there is the good, the bad, and the ugly.
So the question and answer, the Q&A, I think this is becoming, from what people are telling me, they really enjoy listening to other people's question. I guess for every one question, there's another 100 people that were thinking about that same question.
Oh, I don't doubt that at all. And so they keep coming in steadily, so I know that obviously we've struck a nerve here, and people, they just want to know, and I guess they feel like we know what we're talking about, right?
Well, there's a few things we do. We are considered experts, especially when it comes to the field of nutrition and supplementation. So what do you got in the mailbag?
Absolutely, just ask us.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, here we go. This is the first question. This is the one from London, England. This is Rob. He says, "Hey, Dr. Jeff, do you make a BCAA supplement?" That's branched-chain amino acids for the people that don't know. "I trust your products more. Also, can you address the importance of BCAAs versus EAAs, which are essential amino acids? Also, have you heard that taking BCAAs while fasting will stop atrophy in the body?" And atrophy means losing muscle tissue.
Wow, that's a good question. It's a loaded question, because most people have never heard of BCAAs, branched-chain amino acids. Now, in the bodybuilding realm, so to say, the sports nutrition, we know about BCAAs, but people who are displaying their bodies for their sport are more in tune with these things than people who are in the performance field. So what you got to remember is all protein is made up of amino acids. Amino acids are the building blocks to muscle. They are categorized by essential and non-essential. Non-essential means your body will produce those, so you don't really need them. Essential means that your body doesn't produce those, and you need those to survive. Now, the BCAAs are 3 essential amino acids that are the first 3 aminos, which are valine, isoleucine, and leucine, that are expended during intense exercise. So the whole idea behind supplementing with a BCAA is to get those aminos back into the system, which again will help with muscle repair, growth, and recovery. Now, your first question is do we make one under the EFX? Absolutely. I've got a new patent on amino acids, and my new training ground BCAA will be on the market here shortly, so keep an eye out for it. Now, you want to make sure your BCAA is in a 2-1-1 ratio, which means it's 2 leucine to 1 valine to 1 isoleucine. If you overdo the leucine, you're going to throw off the whole way that this thing works because, again, it's a very sensitive balance. So does it help with atrophy? Absolutely. I mean, there's a way to actually trick the body into metabolizing body fat by adding extra BCAAs. So the difference between a BCAA, which is 3 essential amino acids, and EAAs, which are, I think there's 7 or 8 essential amino acids. One contains 8, one contains 3. That's kind of the difference between those. Brian, you got anything to add?
Well, I know that the EAAs, or essential amino acids, also contain the BCAAs.
Right.
They're part of those. They're 3 of the 8, just for point of contention there. Now, some people say, well, can you use both? Yeah, absolutely, you can. There are actually studies that have been done on this, and they show that the EAAs, the essential amino acids, are better utilized by the body before you train, so you can take it as kind of like a pre-workout regimen. And the BCAAs are best post-workout to help you speed up your recovery, which obviously that is the most important thing. So it would be worth it, even if on an experimental basis, to try what I just said. Get some EAAs, use that pre-workout, then of course take your BCAAs post or even during the day to try and help speed up that recovery process. So I guess what I'm saying is if you lift really heavy, you train very intensely, definitely try using both because I don't think you have anything to lose.
No, and Rob, one of the things you're going to find is, besides the EFX Sports line, which is available in all your stores, I'm coming out with a new Factor Direct line called All-American Body. So all the products that may not be on the EFX Sports, because there's only so many things that can actually sell through distribution, will be on the All-American Body. So one of the 2 lines will also contain the EAAs. You'll have to check it out.
And let's not forget, when it's factory direct, you cut out the middleman, which means you cut the price.
Yep, and that's what it's all about, man.
Yeah, saving some dough. Well, the clock is telling me it is time to go to break, so when we get back, we are going to pick up with, of course, some more amazing, stupendous questions from our listening audience. So here we go.
EFX!
Time to get up for work. But before breakfast and a shower, how about a quick workout?
Feel the burn.
Honey, really? You know it's 11 o'clock at night, right?
I'm sorry. And so are my abs. Not everyone works 9 to 5. That's why we're here.
That's why EFX Sports is here. We give you the power that you need, whether you work out in the gym or at home. Every EFX Sports supplement is 100% drug-free and will keep you powered all day long. From Carbolin, the all-natural performance carb, to Cre-Alkaline, the most stable creatine on the market, to NF Pro Whey Protein, the most delicious muscle growth formula available. Head in today to Lucky's, Yellowstone, or Granite Fitness, GNC, and Bonanza Health Foods to find your power today. EFX Sports also wants to take a moment to say thank you to the brave men and women who serve our country. Happy birthday, America. EFX Sports, formulated to win.
EFX Sports, specializing in high-end sports nutrition products, is now the official supplement sponsor for the Billings Mustangs, just in time for the season. EFX Sports is the national sports brand of All-American Pharmaceutical, known around the world for Cre-Alkaline and Carbolin, manufactured here in Billings. All of EFX Sports products are certified banned substance-free and geared toward athletes of all levels. Billings Mustangs fans can look for the EFX Sports brand in the Mustangs Pro Shop all season long during home games. Find it in stores, gyms, and everywhere fine nutritional supplements are sold. EFX Sports.
If you want to power your workouts and stay in shape like the pros do, then choose EFX Sports Supplements. Manufactured in Billings at All-American Pharmaceutical, EFX Sports will keep you in tip-top shape with products such as NF Pro Whey Protein, Carbolin, Cre-Alkaline, Freak Maker, and many more. Head into Bonanza Health Foods, Lucky's Market, Granite Fitness, or Yellowstone Fitness and try them all today. If your favorite store or gym doesn't carry EFX yet, tell them to check into it.
Well, welcome back to the EFX Sports Show on ESPN 910 Radio. Dr. Jeff Golini here with Brian Andrews, and we are smack dab in the middle of our Q&A. If you're just turning in, You can always go back to the podcast and listen to the first part of the show. But we got another question that came in here from Stephanie. Says, hi, my name is Stephanie, and I'm 33 years old with a low back injury. What do you think is better for your body and why? And then she only gives us two choices, yoga or Pilates.
Well, that's an interesting choice. One of the things is when you hear the word low back injury, I mean, there are low back injuries and then there are some serious low back injuries. So without really knowing what I do about, say, what yoga and Pilates are best used for or known for, I'm going to say that a lot of times it's really a personal thing. It's what you would probably enjoy more. Now, again, based on the fact you have lower back issues, I would tend to go towards more Pilates than yoga because of the stress. They put you in some pretty intense positions. And people think yoga is a joke. It is not. It's very hard because you do some pretty amazing stretching, and that could maybe tweak your back, whereas Pilates is better for just basically strengthening and conditioning the whole body by virtue of how you actually do those. If you're not familiar with it, you can look it up on YouTube or one of these online sites to see kind of what I'm talking about. And by the way, Pilates was named after its inventor. His name is Joseph Pilates. He was a former carpenter and gymnast, and he actually invented that entire exercise system for injured dancers. So maybe they hurt their backs too.
Yeah, she should have had a third, which is Jeff Pilates. That's my take on Pilates. Manipulate it a little bit. Got to throw some weights in there. I'm sorry, man.
Yeah, I know. That's why I say Pilates, because it pushes you more towards the strength and conditioning side as opposed to, say, just the sheer stretching side, which is more of the yoga. But you're right. I mean, if she can somehow work some weight training in there, resistance exercise, that is a much faster way to help with a lower back injury. I mean, if you go to physical therapy, that's what you end up ultimately doing is moving weight.
Well, and it sounds
to heal that injured joint or area.
Yeah, and it sounds like she probably has not ever exercised before, and somebody who does yoga or Pilates has probably recommended her joining one of these classes. So again, whatever you do with a lower back, make sure you stretch and just take it easy. Your body will tell you when too much is too much, and don't overdo it. So
there's no pain, no gain, but don't be insane. So come on.
Yeah, I like that, man. Wow.
I'm good on a whim there.
Yeah, it must have been that caffeine, huh?
Yeah, that's right. Let me take another sip. Hold on.
You drinking Shock, or you got some of that new pre-workout, man?
I got a whole cocktail rolling here.
Oh, I got you. Got any more questions?
Of course we got questions here. Question number 3. I desperately want to work out, but I am stuck at work most of the time. Any ideas for me as to what I can do? I figure something is better than nothing. This is Carla V. from Facebook.
Stuck at work? What are you working? 7 days a week, all day long? I mean, get up early, Carla. Come on. Don't stay up so late at night. Sorry, Carla, I didn't mean to say that, but sometimes I hear people say, I don't have time. I don't have time to read the Bible. I don't have time to exercise. I can't lose weight because I'm too busy. Brian, is anybody busier than us two?
I'm going to say no.
I mean, we got to come up with a new word because busy just doesn't seem to define it. So again, I think what it comes down to, first of all, is time management. Because most gyms are open at 4 in the morning, or you can find a 24-hour gym, so you could always get up early in the morning and hit the gym. Now, if you're saying I'm too tired, I have 5 kids at home, I can't make it to the gym, that's a different story. And there are a lot of things that you can do right in your living room while you're watching your kids. Cleaning, is one thing. Keeping moving. You could walk around your living room. You can do a variety of exercises with a chair. You don't even need weights. You can go to the pantry and grab a couple cans of corn, and you can do curls. You could do push-ups. You can do squats. So there's a variety of exercises and things that you can do to start working out. And I think what you'll find is that you will become, so to say, addicted to it. You will feel so good that all of a sudden you probably will have more time to actually get to a gym, which is what I do recommend, because something about being in that atmosphere, being around other people that have the same goals to help keep you motivated, where sometimes at home, it's a difference between watching a good program or exercising. You're probably going to take the TV.
Oh, I think that's exactly right. And I will say that she does get the idea that, she said she figures something is better than nothing. And that's at least a step in the right direction, thinking the right way. And I was going to say, I don't know where she works, but if there's a building, if it's in a building that has stairs, do simple things like always taking the stairs. You have a couple breaks and, of course, a lunch hour or whatever. What a great time to go do your cardio. Just go up and down those stairs and do it in timed intervals. I guarantee your legs are going to be cooking when you do that. You can stand on the edge of a stair and do single leg calf raises, 10 reps, try to build up to 20. And the other thing is, if it starts feeling easy, a simple thing to do is get yourself a decent backpack, and you can add like books in there or whatever weight to incrementally up the ante on that. Another simple thing is you probably sit at your job if you're at a desk. You could set a timer and literally like on the hour, every hour, squeeze your glute muscles. That's your derriere. Squeeze those muscles for like, say, 10 reps. Just squeeze, hold for a second, let go. It's going to help use those muscles rather than just letting them sit there relaxed all day long. And then another thing, of course, is push-ups. What an awesome upper body exercise. Try to do 10 reps, whatever you can build up to, and then every week try to add 5 or 10 more. I mean, it's really not that big of a deal. I can guarantee you, when you can knock out 50 push-ups in one go, you're going to look great and you're going to feel amazing. And again, use the backpack if you need more resistance. And then speaking of that, you can use that same backpack if it's got good handles on it for dumbbell curls, tricep extensions. You can do shoulder presses. Just get really creative and don't let the excuse of, I don't have time, I'm tired, like Dr. Jeff said. Just come up with a simple routine and stick to the thing.
I got another suggestion. If you've got a Europa in your area, go work for them, man. Remember the gym that Europa had when we were up there?
Oh, that was like going
was that crazy?
Tennis, man. That thing was state of the art.
Like, man.
That's my kind of job right there, man.
Yeah, no kidding. So
they were smart because they put it in the middle where you had to walk through it to go to certain parts of the building. It's smack dab in the middle.
Yeah, I think most everybody had to walk through there to get to their jobs. But, again, they're a sports nutrition distributor, the largest in the country, probably one of the largest in the world. And,
yes.
That's what they promote. So, it's cool to have a gym. But I think, most of their employees are athletes too. But that was kind of cool. So anyhow, that's another option. Sure. Is there are some places that have wellness programs and have gyms. So that's always an option. But, man, this is a long question here from Craig.
Uh-oh.
Hey, guys, I'm starting my first ever bulk. I was playing basketball 6 times a week. I'm trying to decide on how many times I can still play per week while bulking. I hate to lose all my cardio conditioning, and I love to hoop, but want to do a physique show by the end of 2016. My macros are 40% protein, 30% good carbs, 30% fat. I've been doing fewer carbs and fat. I started doing heavy weights and increased to 2,700 to 3,000 calories a week. And it just kind of goes on and on and on. But I guess he's wanting to know how can he start bulking and not lose his cardiovascular conditioning. Brian, what's your thoughts?
Well, you weren't kidding, man. That's a long question. I guess that demands a long answer, but we'll try to squeeze this in before we have to go to break here.
I like giving you the long questions because you always got the good long answers, man.
Oh, yeah, there we go. And this is from Craig Garrison. He submitted this via Facebook, which is what a lot of people seem to be doing these days. Now, there's a fine line you walk when it comes to building muscle and also doing those type of activities like, say, basketball, that type of thing, because those are mostly aerobic in nature, whereas weight training is anaerobic. Just keep in mind that high volumes of any type of exercise, aerobic or anaerobic, can have a negative impact on your muscle growth, and here's why. When you have too much exercise, it will cause stress hormones in your body to rise, cortisol, if you look that one up, and that also causes your natural growth hormones to decline. And this, again, comes back to the whole idea of overtraining and just doing way, way, way more than you actually need. So basically, cortisol is one of those things that will eat away muscle tissue if you have too much of it. And then some people, when they're stressed, they're either a comfort eater, they go and just want to eat to feel better, but then other people don't eat at all, and that can be also detrimental because you're just not putting good nutrition in the body to help it recover and grow. Now, when it comes to your workout, why don't you try this? Pick 3 non-consecutive days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, something like that. and maybe do back and chest the first day on a Monday, then your legs Wednesday, and then arms and shoulders on Friday. I mean, whatever split like that works, that makes sense. Just, again, you got to pick something you can stick to. I would recommend you pick a couple exercises for your biceps and triceps, maybe 2 or 3 for chest, 2 or 3 for back, and then you want to do 3 for shoulders because you've got the 3 heads, the front, side, and rear. So you want to make sure you hit all 3 and get a good balance there. Just do, 1 or 2 quick warm-up exercises, and then bust out a super hard single set to failure. That will really do the job and also keep you from being in there for 2 and 3 hours at a time. For your upper body, why don't you try to shoot for, like, say, 8 to 10 reps, and then on your legs, maybe go a little higher, 10 to 12, 12 to 15, so you really dig deep into those huge muscles that you have in your legs. And if you can, try to get in and out in about 45 minutes. If you keep your focus on doing that, you're going to be much more efficient. And the other thing, too, is you mentioned about playing hoops so much. I would try to do that on the days opposite from your weight training. Again, you want to make sure you're recovered, that you don't cut too much into that recovery and just tire yourself out. Not fun. And then when it comes to your metabolism, younger people obviously have faster metabolisms than the older guys do. Same for men and women. And by the way, if you're going to really go for building some mass, I would stick to the exercises like deadlifts, squats, leg presses, bench press, shoulder press, good old-fashioned dips, chin-ups, and barbell rows. Those are the foundational exercises that everyone should do if you can, of course, from a mechanical standpoint. Of course, machines and cables, you can use those too, your lat pull-downs, that type of thing, leg extensions, to really focus on certain muscles. And then the other thing you might want to do, again, to make that exercise very efficient is focus on a 3-second contraction where you move the weight up, say a barbell curl, and then lower it in 3 to 4 seconds. It is so much harder to train that way. You're not going to be using nearly as much weight, but trust me, you are going to feel it. It's going to crush you, man. And then again, don't worry so much about the weight. It's all about putting stress on that muscle and doing it in good form. Forget momentum. Recommend you keep a journal so you know what you're doing each week and you can see the increases. And you really should see the weights and or reps increase because that's super important. And when you see those things going up, you know you're going the right direction. You're making progress. It's going to make you feel better. And you want to get stronger and focus on getting stronger because as you get stronger, the muscle size will come soon after. And, boy, that's a mouthful I threw in there. Hopefully that helps him improve his game, be a better athlete overall because that's what we're here for. And, Jeff, I don't know if you got anything else to add to that.
I think you hit everything there, Bri.
Okay.
That was a good answer for a good question.
Yeah, definitely. No question about it there. We appreciate it, Craig. And by the way, it is time to go to breaks. And when we get back, we're going to be joined by our super special guest, Junior Michael Ray, in studio.
EFX! Time to get up for work. But before breakfast and a shower, how about a quick workout? Feel the burn.
Honey, really? You know it's 11 o'clock at night, right?
I'm sorry. And so are my abs. Not everyone works 9 to 5. That's why we're here.
That's why EFX Sports is here. We give you the power that you need, whether you work out in the gym or at home. Every EFX Sports supplement is 100% drug-free and will keep you powered all day long. From Carbolin, the all-natural performance carb, to Cre-Alkaline, the most stable creatine on the market, to NF Pro Whey Protein, the most delicious muscle growth formula available. Head in today to Lucky's, Yellowstone, or Granite Fitness, GNC, and Bonanza Health Foods to find your power today. EFX Sports also wants to take a moment to say thank you to the brave men and women who serve our country. Happy birthday, America. EFX Sports, formulated to win.
EFX Sports, specializing in high-end sports nutrition products, is now the official supplement sponsor for the Billings Mustangs, just in time for the season. EFX Sports is the national sports brand of All-American Pharmaceutical, known around the world for Cre-Alkaline and Carbolin, manufactured here in Billings. All of EFX Sports products are certified banned substance-free and geared toward athletes of all levels. Billings Mustangs fans can look for the EFX Sports brand in the Mustangs Pro Shop all season long during home games. Find it in stores, gyms, and everywhere fine nutritional supplements are sold. EFX Sports.
If you want to power your workouts and stay in shape like the pros do, then choose EFX Sports Supplements. Manufactured in Billings at All American Pharmaceutical, EFX Sports will keep you in tip-top shape with products such as NF Pro Whey Protein, Carbolin, Crealkaline, Freak Maker, and many more. Head into Bonanza Health Foods, Lucky's Market, Granite Fitness, or Yellowstone Fitness and try them all today. If your favorite store or gym doesn't carry EFX yet, tell them to check into it.
Well, welcome back to the EFX Sports Show on ESPN 910. Dr. Jeff Golini with Brian Andrews. And as promised, we have a very, very, very special guest in studio today, Junior Michael Ray. We kind of got to know each other a little bit here in the gym, but when I read your bio, you did tell me that there was more to the story than baseball.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because and thanks for having me, by the way, Jeff.
Yeah, man.
And how we met is, I feel kind of bad. Brian, did you ever hear this story? Because No,
I haven't.
I actually hunted him down. Like, I have a tendency of being that network kind of guy, and when I figure something out and stuff like that, I hunted him down like a stalker in the gym. Like, literally pulled him aside, and I was like, hey, I know who you are. I'd like to pick your mind. And the first 2 times he looked at me, he's like, okay, do I need to buy a firearm, a bodyguard, or something? But no, I actually did. I had to hunt him down in the gym, and because I've known who Dr. Jeff's been for a lot of years, and so I have to pick people's minds when I have the opportunity.
I think you sent me an email, and we were communicating email, and I didn't place
the two together at first. Yeah.
And it wasn't because, we had kind of talked in the gym a little bit, but it wasn't until you said, hey, did you get my email? And I was like, oh.
Yeah. I think that's actually how it went. And what it was, I'd actually met Lenore at a game last year.
Okay.
And she says, oh, yeah, I work for Dr. Jeff. I was like, okay, now I got the email, looked up, how to get a hold through, American Pharmaceuticals. And so that's how it was. And I told my partner, I'm like, okay, if I don't hear back from him within a week, I'm going to track him down at the gym and at least start a conversation. And, she's like, well, then he's going to probably end up knowing who you are. And I was like, well, it'll happen.
So the cool thing here, and Brian, you kind of introduced in the first half of the show, I got to know you just as an athlete, getting into baseball. But as again, I'm reading your bio, you're a director, a writer, an actor, rodeo, TV, film, musician. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So I don't even know where to start, man. So I'm going to start because there was something interesting since 4th of July is off, is you were in the Armed Forces. Mm-hmm. What branch? What did you do? How long were you there?
It was interesting how I had always wanted to be. I wanted to be a ranger. That was what I grew up wanting to be. And unfortunately, I'd had a series of injuries when I was younger that kept me from getting into the service right out of high school. And so I kind of bided my time, waited to. Basically, I have to admit, I had to wait for a Republican to be in office and for the armed forces to open up a little bit more. And then so I enlisted at a much, I guess you could say a much later time in life. And by the time I had already enlisted, I was already in a situation where I was working for executive protection companies, personal security details. I'd worked with the Department of Defense already. And I had quite a resume, actually, before I enlisted and got into the 19th Special Forces Group.
Wow.
And so I worked with the 19th Special Forces Group. I had enlisted before 9/11. And actually, we got our first phone calls 27 minutes after the second plane hit. And so I did some work there. I tried to transfer, which would end up kind of be at a detriment to my career a little bit that way. And then would get lost in transfer for quite some time. But yeah, I did some time. I've been in and around the Special Forces and Special Operations community, like even before I enlisted. My mentors were quite legendary in the Green Beret community. And I think that's one of the reasons why, even though basically I quote-unquote got invited to go play for another team, I've continued to work as a special operations contractor on and off for the last 10 years. And that's basically, I'm nutty in the aspect of it. I go work a contract to try to pay for my my entertainment
sure.
endeavors. So.
And Brian, and he lives in Billings, Montana now, man. We got him, so.
I actually moved.
Yeah.
I fled.
It's funny you
Go ahead, Brian.
You were talking about the bio. This has got to be one of the most robust bios I think I've looked at. Any one of these things would be like someone's lifetime. And one of the ones that just popped out at me was, I see you're professional rodeo, cowboy, bull rider, etc. I'm just curious to know a little more about that. For example, 8 seconds in any other realm doesn't sound like a big deal, but it's probably like the longest time of your life.
It's an eternity sometimes.
2,000-pound bull.
Brian,
kill you.
Brian, bull riding is not rodeo, man. You're not from Montana, man. You can't call. Don't call a bull rider a rodeo.
Nope, and that's what kind of, and that what was interesting is how I'm a 5th generation rodeo cowboy, but what I used rodeo for is when I finally got into the Olympic Training Center USA Wrestling Greco program. I was not good enough to be there. Basically, they took me on as a special training partner type deal, where I was having my head kicked in by the likes of Ethan.
Sparring partner.
Yeah, it was so. I mean, I have a funny story on my first day there. It was just so horrible the way I started. But what I would do is I would rodeo in the summer to pay for my wrestling in the winter, and then slowly but surely, the way my life would work out is rodeo just really kind of took over because I started doing well at it, and I did all 3. I did bareback, saddle bronc, and I was already there, and it is the most boring event in my world, bull riding, but since I was already there, I did it. But the hardest event in rodeo is saddle bronc riding.
Really?
And another reason why I have a Montana connection is if you want to learn to ride saddle bronc horses, you have to come to Wyoming and Montana to really, and go to Canada to learn how to ride the big horses, because that's where they are. So it's a very interesting, painstaking lifestyle.
It's crazy. I got invited over to last year the PBR. Got to see behind the scenes in the back, and that is a crazy sport. I mean, they even wear helmets and stuff now. I mean, where the old days they wore cowboy hats.
I got to the point, and I haven't decided if I'm going to retire. I have stopped riding bulls. To be honest with you, it bored me.
Really?
It just was not something that athletically challenged me. Probably out of all the sports that I've done in my entire life, saddle bronc riding has been the thing that I have struggled with the most. You're doing 7 things twice per second.
Wow.
And you're 15 feet in the air, going 15 feet a jump, 35 miles an hour. And so when you come off one of those high horses, it gets your attention. You're hitting the ground at a very high rate of speed. And you learn how to fall really quick, or you don't make it.
I think all this stuff is crazy. I remember taking my daughter when we moved out here to a rodeo, and she was watching the calf roping. Oh, they're hurting that calf, and I'm like, oh, honey, that doesn't hurt him.
That calf outweighs that guy by about 200
And she went to me and she took my neck and she goes, now tell me that didn't hurt. So what? So besides getting beat up with the Olympics, did you actually do anything else with that program?
USA Wrestling opened up a lot of doors for me because the USA weightlifting is actually, and unfortunately, it's really sad because we will now no longer have USA weightlifting on the campus. USA weightlifting has been hurting for a couple years, even with the resurgence of Olympic lifts in CrossFit. Unfortunately, it's just not going to happen. So they're looking for a new place. But anyway, the Olympic Training Center programs, where the wrestling room is attached to USA weightlifting. So while I was down there, I got injured, and I had already had a weightlifting background. And we say weightlifting, we have to a lot of times in the real world refer to it as Olympic lifting. So I had Olympic lifting, a background. And so when I was in a rehab situation, I went over there, and one of the guys was training with us. And so he took me to the weightlifting side for a couple months to help me rehab. And I saw the absolute monstrous benefits I had from an actual real Olympic weightlifting program. And then that started to really influence my life, and I really started to, opened up doors. And then in my other rehab, which is very strange, is I hate to run. I cannot stand running. I hate jogging. I hate sprinting. But it is part of the sport.
Me too.
Oh, thanks. See, and I'm not the only one. No one wants to admit it, but everybody hates to run.
Now I see why. I
like to say, guys, I'm built for comfort, not speed.
Well, you know what? I see now why you hit the long ball, because if you hit it out of the park, you don't got to run, right?
I don't have to sprint.
Oh, okay.
But now that I've dropped a few pounds, I'll be honest with you, I'm not hitting it out of the park, so I'm having to make them sprints.
Oh no, man!
So now I'm having to work it. But that's when and then I took up while I was down there. I met another individual, and I started training with USA Speed Skating, and I actually got quite good at that because I was a very powerful, individual. Lower half of me is bigger than the upper half of me. Got quite good at that, and then because of the type of sport that Greco is, we cross-trained, and I ended up going and getting my black belt in judo and got into the IBJF. So yeah, I've been a card-holding member of USA Weightlifting, USA Speed Skating, USA Wrestling, obviously, and the IBJF, USA Judo.
And Brian, before you go off into the other side of Junior Michael, I just want to continue on with the athletics because you also wanted to play professional baseball.
That was a dream from when I grew up.
And you're now doing it. I mean, that's kind of where we met, and I only thought you were a baseball player.
And it's interesting how, literally the story of how it happened. Obviously, I had an opportunity to start around the single A and double A community years ago before I enlisted.
Oh, okay.
And then I was one of those people that at the time the country called, and I gave up the opportunity to live 5 guys in a single bedroom apartment and play single A ball for $400 a month, and and so last year I had come back from a contract and I got stuck down south, and I went to a really cool hitting facility, and I don't play golf. It's just not enough for me. I have to do something that's very, and I've always hit. That's just been my thing, and I've maintained that enjoyment of hitting all these years. And I'm a switch hitter. I hit right and left-handed, which not a lot of people can do. And so I just started hitting, and there happened to be somebody there. He says, "Hey, would you like to come over and hit off of this simulator at the time?" And so I went and hit off the simulator. He goes, "Hey, what are you doing tomorrow?" And I ended up having a layover. And I was like, "Well, I'm stuck in a hotel." He goes, "Hey, I'll give you $50. You want to come hit against some real pitchers?" So I'm like, "Hey, sure." Now, I had learned really quick that kids these days are so talented. Like when I'm hearing, like when the local team here plays, the AA team here plays, I'm hearing, "Oh yeah, he's 18 years old." And I'm like, "Well, how can he play?" I've seen those 18-year-olds. And I've watched, basically hit against 2 kids. These kids were 18 years old, and they're throwing 92, 94. Well, I happened to have a good day, rocked a couple of them out of the park on both sides, and the guy said, "Okay, I'm going to make it an opportunity for you to possibly do some tryouts and stuff like that in the winter, but you're going to have to get in better shape," because the guy put a glove on me, and I looked at it very foreignly, like because I had not kept up on that side of my training, but. Whenever I do anything, just like in movies and books and whatever I've done, I dove in head first. And so, like, I'll leave here and I'll go do a 2-hour batting practice with the coach, and then I'll go do a fielding practice, and then I'll go to the gym on top of everything else I do. So, yeah.
Well, folks, this guy is so amazing. I'm only going to say he's over 21.
Oh, God, yes.
And I think that's what makes it even more amazing is that if you have a goal, and I always say that there's 2 types of people, those who just dream about dreams and those who live them. And you're definitely one of the people that when you have a dream, you live it. And,
I did a song on one of my albums, and it meant a lot to me. It was called "I Do It For Me." And it's one of those things, there are 2 types of people. There are those making a living and those who are living their dreams. And I think when you can come to a point where I think it's when those opportunities are opened up to you. And that's one of those things like you kind of touched on. I cannot stand people who go, "Oh, I'm doing pretty good for my age." Really?
Yeah.
I had a wonderful conversation with Jimmy Morris. Was a 43-year-old rookie. If you ever watched the movie The Rookie,
Yep.
Those things do happen. And so it's like for me, this thing here, I think the big running joke is I think I did make the comment when I was hitting against those kids the first time. I leaned over to the scout and I said, "You do realize I'm old enough to have fathered all these kids that I'm hitting against here."
That's crazy. Brian, you're probably going to take us into a commercial, huh?
It took the words right out of my mouth. Time to go to a hard break, and when we get back, we're going to shift gears a little bit away from athletics and talk about your musical career. Man, I think that the list is shorter of what this guy hasn't done. So anyway, when we get back, we're going to switch gears and talk about his music career.
EFX!
Time to get up for work. But before breakfast and a shower, how about a quick workout?
Feel the burn.
Honey, really? You know know it's 11 o'clock at night, right?
I'm sorry. And so are my abs. Not everyone works 9 to 5. That's why we're here.
That's why EFX Sports is here. We give you the power that you need, whether you work out in the gym or at home. Every EFX Sports supplement is 100% drug-free and will keep you powered all day long. From Carbolin, the all-natural performance carb, to Crealkaline, the most stable creatine on the market, to NF Pro Whey Protein, the most delicious muscle growth formula available. Head in today to Lucky's, Yellowstone, or Granite Fitness, GNC, and Bonanza Health Foods to find your power today. EFX Sports also wants to take a moment to say thank you to the brave men and women who serve our country. Happy birthday, America. EFX Sports, formulated to win.
EFX Sports, specializing in high-end sports nutrition products, is now the official supplement sponsor for the Billings Mustangs, just in time for the season. EFX Sports is the national sports brand of All-American Pharmaceutical, known around the world for Crealkaline and Carbolin, manufactured here in Billings. All of EFX Sports products are certified banned substance-free and geared toward athletes of all levels. Billings Mustangs fans can look for the EFX Sports brand in the Mustangs Pro Shop all season long during home games. Find it in stores, gyms, and everywhere fine nutritional supplements are sold. EFX Sports.
If you want to power your workouts and stay in shape like the pros do, then choose EFX Sports Supplements. Manufactured in Billings at All American Pharmaceutical, EFX Sports will keep you in tip-top shape with products such as NF Pro Whey Protein, Carbolin, Crealkaline, Freak Maker, and many more. Head into Bonanza Health Foods, Lucky's Market, Granite Fitness, or Yellowstone Fitness and try them all today. If your favorite store or gym doesn't carry EFX yet, tell them to check into it.
Well, welcome back to the EFX Sports Show on ESPN 910 Radio. We've got Junior Michael Ray in the studio here. And Brian, before we went to break, you were going to cross over the pond, as we say, not to London, but to Junior Michael's other accomplishment side other than athletics.
Yeah, I'm just curious to know. So tell me a little more about the type of music you do. And I know there's some story tucked away in there about you met a special 6-year-old little girl or something. There was some influence there.
Yeah, it was interesting. All my entertainment career all stems from having a mediocre rodeo career. And I literally decided, my writing career, acting, the whole 9 yards, I literally sat there one day and I was reading a rodeo novel on the way to a show. And I'm like, this is so bad. No one knows really how we live, what we do. And I'm 5th generation into it, so I have a history and stuff like that. But I'm like, this is ridiculous. So what does the male ego say? Oh, I can do it better. Well, come to find out I would do it better. And my book, Sanctuary Ranch, would hit regional bestseller, would do very well with it. At that very, literally, I got a scholarship to the Western Writers of America conference. I would meet my first music producer. I would meet the person who I would collaborate on one of my first novels with. And then I would also meet the executive producer for the Westerns Channel, who wanted to do kind of a little documentary on my life. Well, they liked the way I looked in front of the camera so much that they had me do a couple little documentaries of what life was like behind the shoots. Second that happened, boom, I started getting movie role offers, commercial role offers, and things like that. And I had always wanted to do an album. So my first album was called Rodeo Heroes and Friends, and I did it kind of as a concept album. I like that real old-timey Chris Ledoux, like, you can put on the 8-track. I can't believe I just said 8-track, but, the 8-track type music. And that was the first album that we did, and it was kind of fun. I was a little bit disappointed in it. It ended up taking a lot longer than it should have, and then my novel took off, and I had some movie things that were working. And when I say this, I am broke the whole time, because if you focus on one, maybe you can do good, but I used the shotgun effect. I, scattered everything, figured I'll take whatever as it hits the ground, because there's lulls in everything, and I'm not a person that sits very well. So when something would go stagnant for a while, I could focus on something else. And so I was getting ready to. I had really had a bad taste in my mouth with music.
Is that just because it didn't take off as well as you thought?
When I, a lot of the things, like a lot of people ask me. A lot of people don't know this. I actually made it to Nashville after my my second album. I got the call up to the big label and all that stuff, and they put me in a mansion down there, and it was a lot of fun. But then I started to learn what the business was.
Oh, yeah.
And luckily I did learn the business, because I didn't let it eat me up before it ruined me. And so I had also been in a situation where I was pushing so hard to try to make these careers work that something at one point was going to was going to explode. And that year I did 127 rodeos in one season. It was just ridiculous.
That's crazy.
And at the end of that season, I did not, I guess you could say, sign with the record label I'd started with. I was done. I had literally $6.27 to my name. I had done a rodeo in Brawley, California, ended up getting an eye infection and had to drive all the way back to the San Diego airport. It was just, I came to that point where I'm like, that's it. I'm going to burn my saddle. I'm going to burn my bareback rig. I'm done with this. I've had it. And this little girl walks up to me in the San Diego airport, of all places, with my album and goes, "Can I have your autograph? I really love your music."
Wow.
In a little 6-year-old voice. And I was like, okay, maybe we're not done. I kind of believe that the good Lord above kind of tells you when you're done and when you're not. Exactly. And so I would end up signing with GS Studios, which was an absolute godsend. And we would go to where I was living at the time, Cody, Wyoming, and all we wanted to do was film a music video. That was what it was. And while I wanted to kind of cast that part of that little girl and kind of make it part of the video, well, we ended up having so much footage, we made a short film out of it. Well, that film, and literally it was me and my my director of photography, Gary Ott, who I've worked with for a lot of years, and all our films together. And we ended up winning international film awards with it.
Wow.
And so it just, but GS Studios really helped us kick that, and then they helped me kick out my second album, which was I Do It For Me. And that was kind of that album that had some stuff on it that was kind of personal. I was like, if this is what I'm going to leave this industry with, this is the message I want to send. And it was kind of that, because Chris Ledoux had passed away, and you're not going to replace the man. The man was the real deal. And
oh yeah, love Chris Ledoux.
Exactly. And if there's a storyteller, it was it. And I had actually I had a song called The Toast that had opened up a lot of doors for me. It was written by a man named Steve Rice from No Justice, and it was from the Red Dirt movement in Oklahoma. And I started to steer more toward that music. It worked very well for me. And so I'm thinking I'm going to do one more album, but it's definitely going to be a little bit more of that Red Dirt style of music. But right now, with baseball and film and the books, it's kind of on the back burner, because like I said, I really had a bad taste in my mouth in Nashville.
Sure.
It just didn't. I literally had flown back in. I had to stay in Vegas for 4 weeks on a tour type deal, and a music deal. And I had just literally, after living in Nashville for 6 months, I was like, it is amazing how you work to get to a certain goal, and then you get there and realize, I want no part of this.
Yeah. I saw that back when I was in California. We got into Gold's Gym had an entertainment section, and they cattle calls, movies and stuff. And I always thought that'd be the coolest thing. And one of the movies I worked on, I was just an extra, stand-in. And when they got to the last week of filming, I think the last 3 or 4 days, I was there 24 hours. I think I was there 72 hours straight or something like that.
Oh, God, the hours that you put in,
and I'm like,
people realize.
No way, man. This ain't for me. And I couldn't imagine the stars that, the amount of hours they put in. People don't see that. You think it's such a glamorous job, but you don't realize whether it's, music or a film. The amount of work and hours.
The behind the scenes work is so, and that's why I kind of laugh, because I when I got the opportunity to act, I took it and I went and I worked with some really high end, like you probably remember the Larry Moss studio in California.
Yeah.
We're talking, I went and trained with some big time people, and I'm like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it right. However, when you start to sit there, one of the first films I worked on was Ichabod, the Legend of Sleepy Hollow. And I was supposed to be an extra for 1 day. And I ended up, for the next 48 hours, ended up becoming, I don't know if you know who Bob Gunton is.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I ended up being his second, and Pete O'Mara from Band of Brothers was in it. It was a neat little film. And I was supposed to be there 1 day, ended up getting a job with the director, called up my agent, and goes, no, I want him here. But it was what you said. We were on set 15, 16-hour day.
Yeah.
When there's a second, the only thing you do is you run the actors' lines, and Bob is quite a bit taller than me. He's like 6'3", so I had to carry around an apple box all the time, so that when they set up the scenes, and you're getting paid $150 whatever dollars a day, but when you break that down hourly, it's not that much.
The only good thing is I remember showing up and them going, we don't need you, and they still paid me the $100. We got $100, but it was $100 bill. But I remember being on another job where it was more of a modeling job, and they only had so much money, and they wanted to run longer. And they're like, well, we can't pay you. And I'm like, huh? Well, we'll do a bunch of headshots for you. Well, okay.
Okay.
I mean, a little barter and stuff. But no, it is a lot. Brian, you ever work on any movies or anything like that?
No, actually, I have not done that. Who knows? Maybe one day I'll get discovered and get big and famous like you guys.
I remember my brother came out to visit me one time in California, and I said, man, I'm going on this cattle call. Come with me. It was a Spaceballs, Mel Brooks movie. And I got casted in it, and he did too, and he thought it was the coolest thing because, he just went along for the ride.
Right.
Now I got cut out like I did most of the movies, but it was still fun. It was still got paid.
I've made so much money off of getting what they call cutting room floor that it absolutely, and like people always ask me, like, in all the films and the things that you've done, because I've done a lot of uncredited work.
Uh-huh.
And if you're willing to do uncredited work, sometimes you can get a little bit more done. Now, hindsight being 20/20, I did that in the book world too, and I did a couple of ghost writings. Well, that sucks because then that's a one-time payout.
Yeah.
And you're sitting there watching your book do well. You can't even tell people you wrote it. So I mean, and in the film world, yeah, it's a very interesting thing on that, making that cutting room floor. And I had a reoccurring role on a show called In Plain Sight. It was a cop show on the USA Network years ago. Did quite well. I think it did 5 seasons. And I still get checks for that because they still show it over in Europe. And I think, honestly, I don't think I actually showed up in one scene in that television show.
I made too many mistakes early on, not knowing the business, signing out that there was no royalties. I had a commercial that played for over 2 years, and all I got was like $800.
I had one, I remember it was one of my first commercials. And we're talking, I can use the word decade ago.
Right.
And when I moved here, there was another store, I won't go into it, but there was another store up here that was of that store in the area which I did that commercial. And I am sitting there at a sports bar, and I am seeing this commercial of over a decade ago that I'm in.
Wow.
That was only supposed to run a year. Well, I had a better agent at the time, and I called up and I said, this is going to get pulled. Either this gets pulled or I get paid. And I had to learn, and that was the one thing that I think I had a hard time with learning, because I come from the good old boy network.
Yeah.
Hey, I shake your hand, we're going to do a deal, and that's how it works.
Not Hollywood, right?
Not Hollywood.
Oh, no.
I had friends that would sit there and be like, you got to sign a contract with me. And I'm like, whoa, we go way back. We were in the service or something like that. No.
Just sign here. Trust me, this is all legal. Don't worry about reading it,
And that's how it works. And then once you have like what I went through, where you all of a sudden see a film or see a book that you wrote, it is a real, and that ruins a lot of people in the business too.
Well, they're always flashing the money, so, it's exciting just to be part of it. Joe Weider used to do that. He used to get bodybuilders in the magazines, and we all did it for free.
Right.
And he was making millions of dollars, but it was like, oh, you're going to be famous if you get on the cover. You're going to make it. So,
yeah, that's and that's kind of the thing that, like, because people will come and talk to me often, because I obviously went to the Hollywood route, and then I'm actually here trying to make movies now. And they'll ask me, I always have the teenager comes up who's getting ready to graduate high school going, yeah, I'm going to have some headshots taken. I'm going to go out to L.A. and their parents look at me like, well, what do you think about that? And I look at them and I go, that is the stupidest thing that you could do.
Yeah.
If the acting game is like the baseball game, is like the fighting game.
Yep.
If you're good where you're at, you're going to get seen.
Well, Brian, when you get out here, you're going to have to meet Junior Michael in person here.
Yeah, hey, you never know. Maybe I'll get my big break and be in one of his upcoming films. But I guess, like they say, I got a face for radio, which is why we do this show. So based on that, guys, we're just about out of time. Man, we have so many cool guests come on, and the time goes so quick. But just in closing, we really, really, really want to thank you so much for joining us today. And just an amazing bio. There's so much more we didn't even cover. But again, thank you so much for coming. And by the way, when you get ready to bust out that next album, maybe you should get Jeff there, get him a cowboy hat, and he can do a duet or a backup.
Yeah, and I just found out that Jeff is very much musically talented, so don't be surprised if we get Jeff on the.
That might be fun, man. Cool. Well, we're definitely going to have Junior Michael Ray back for part 2, because we didn't even touch the surface, Brian. So.
Oh, we didn't even scratch the surface. But again, thank you so much for coming in. And as always, I'd like to thank our producer extraordinaire, Mr. Seth Williamson. we always want to thank our listening audience for taking the time to join us today. Hopefully you got a lot out of this, got some good knowledge, were entertained by hearing Junior Michael Ray, and look up his music, TV, books. My goodness, man, you're going to find this guy everywhere. But again, thank you so much, and we have sadly got to call this the end. So thank you guys, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks again, fellas.
Live from the EFX Sports Studio, you've been listening to the EFX Sports Show. Find all EFX Sports supplements and products online at EFXSports.com. And don't forget to download today's episode for free on iTunes. EFX Sports, formulated to win.